Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Kevin. Today we're gonna print Inozuke from Kimetsu no Yaiba, aka Demon Slayer. I'm on CG Trader today. The model is from Rafta Medikov. If you want to find some different type of model or anime stuff, CG Trader have a lot of model. The problem is a lot of them they are paid to download and they're a bit expensive. This one is 10 bucks. It's not too bad, but some other price are like 30, 40 bucks. So it's a bit too much sometimes. But this one is pretty cool. I wanted to paint and print Inozuke, so let's go. Okay, so here we're gonna start in Mesh Mixer. As you can see, the object is divided in several parts. At first I thought, okay, it's gonna be great, I can print each part one by one, but they don't fit together. Nothing is meant to be 3D printed. They're just a model, a 3D model put together. Some part they're gonna block other part, like here the head and the torso. So at first I thought, okay, I might be able to like subtract some part and then try to redefine each model, but I've done some tried, I 3D printed them, it didn't work. So in the end I went with the simple that I could. Here I have my two legs, everything with the feet and the sandals and the fur and the two blades as well. And for the top part, here this time in Lychee, I've kept the head stuck with everything on the torso. It was the easiest part to, like the easiest step for me to go. Okay, so I printed all my parts. As you saw, it was a bit of a pain to get the model right, but I'm finally done with it and still have some stuff to do. So here I have part of my legs. I retain most of the details and there is nothing special about it. I might have to sand a little bit in the middle here, but for the most part the print is really clean, so that's good. Same for the torso and the head. So I've tried to mess around. I've printed the torso and the head separate. It was a bit too messy to put back together, so I reprinted with the head and the torso in one piece. Now the only connection that I have is between the torso and the legs. I'm gonna have to do some sanding and try to make it happen, fill the gap in between, but this should be okay. It's not the easiest. All the tiny hair everywhere are a bit of a pain. It's easy to break it or just make it fall apart. And for the rest, I have my two blades on one side and the base. I've used just sandpaper to kind of sharpen the edge of the blade. Everything was really square and a bit boring, so they're a bit sharper now, they look better, and yeah, I'm just gonna have to glue them on top as well. Okay, so here I start with the skin as usual. Put some of my base coat. I want the model to be close to like an anime model, so the contrast are gonna be quite low, nothing fancy, not a lot of techniques, mostly dry brushing. I try to keep the color as close as possible from the anime. Here I desaturated some blue night that I have, the Vallejo. It's a dark blue, but it's a bit like really bright on the blue side, so I just try to desaturate the blue and then find the tone that I want, and I dry brush slightly over in 2 or 3 steps. I try to be careful on those tiny hair, the fur coming down the pants. Everything is super tiny and fragile, so I don't push too much on the brush. Here I'm gonna do the same on the skin. At first I've done the pants and the skin because I wanted to separate 2 parts. When you dry brush over a huge part of the model, you're gonna mess around and the paint is gonna end up everywhere. So here I have the top of the head and the middle of the fur here on the pants. And I keep those parts for later because I know when I'm gonna dry brush the pants and the skin, everything is gonna be everywhere. For example, here on the feet, I know I was gonna have to recome with the blue night and slowly retouch everything. So try to be aware of which step is better first and don't like put more work on yourself. Here the fur on the pants, I've done the same. When I'm dry brushing, I'm going like mostly on the middle. I'm just trying to be really careful on the edge. And when I'm gonna finish here, I go back with the brush and I go by hand on those tiny hair and the tip all around. here I'm talking about steps for the top part. I apply my base coat, I'm gonna dry brush the whole part, and then obviously I do my detail, the eyes and the nose later and stuff. There might be small detail and maybe like really common sense, but sometimes you might forget about it, so it's good to know which step you're going first all the time. Here I'm doing the same around the neck. Every hair close to the chest I have to go by hand. I didn't go that deep with the dry brush. Just glazing a bit of pink around the ear. I've used some glazing medium, and later on I just went back with the brush with no paint, and you just like kind of erase a bit. You just smoosh a bit the paint and everything blend together really easily. Here the eyes are the most important part I think for Inosuke. I spend a lot of time glazing, going with layers, trying to find some good render. White is a bit, in bright color in general, they are a bit hard to glaze. So I spend just a lot of time off camera, and I've just done a lot of layering, glazing, and trying to see what kind of effect I could get. And here I'm wet blending a bit, and after like a couple of hours, I had a decent result, so it's the one that I kept. I even used white ink to try to have a better cover for the brightest part, but glazing is always really hard for those kind of bright color. So that's the render that I have, you can see on the side sometimes here. And I was happy with it, so I kept the end result here. So here I'm using chalk for the base. I just want the pigment, like not the color, but the texture of it. I've done it on the Jurassic Park diorama, mixing PVA and chalk fragment, and I like the result. So here I apply just around the base. Everything is pink. I just use one color that I don't usually use. I just need the texture, I don't need the color. I added more pigment on top when everything was covered on the base. Here I'm back on Inosuke, finishing some touch, the metallic part on the blade. And after a while here, as you can see, I just go back over with some PVA and paint. And when it was done, I've sanded a bit to flatten those pigments. And then I'm painting over, dry brushing, and some wash as well.
And that's it for Inosuke. I'm done with the painting. The result is really cool. I really like the character and the model, so I'm happy with it. The good part about painting in like an anime style, you don't have to go crazy on the contrast or anything, so you base coat, you dry brush over, and you got the result that you want already. And of course you're gonna spend some time on some detail. I spent quite some time on the eyes. I've tried to get it right. If you have a model with a bit more detail, you might spend more time, but in like theory you can have a good result really quick, which is pretty nice, and I'm happy with the result. Tell me what do you think in the comment, and subscribe, stay tuned. I'm gonna make a lot more minis, figurine, diorama and stuff like this, so see you next week.